Now, it feels like we should start off with the horrific terror attack that we saw in Manchester. 22 people dead, including a young Scottish schoolgirl. Do you think Jeremy Corbyn was right to link it to UK foreign policy in places like Libya and Iraq?
Look, well, firstly, all of our thoughts remain with the victims of the Manchester attack. It was absolutely horrific and atrocious, and after the dreadful week we've had, it's actually lovely to be sitting here with the sound of children playing behind us. You know, let me say two things about the Jeremy Corbyn speech. Firstly, nobody, and I don't believe Jeremy Corbyn was saying that there is anybody other than the terrorists to blame for acts of terrorism. You know, terrorists will always look for reasons to justify their actions, but there is no justification, there's no excuse, there's nobody else to blame. The person responsible for the attack in Manchester was the man who blew himself and, unfortunately, others up on Monday night. But the second point that I would make is that I think we must be free, particularly in a general election campaign, to have honest debates about foreign policy and to have honest debates about security and how we keep the population of the country safe. And I think we should be able to do that without anybody suggesting that anybody that criticises UK foreign policy, and I've got many criticisms of UK foreign policy, is in any way, shape or form trying to justify the horrific and dreadful actions of terrorists.
So with that in mind, do you agree then that there are links between what's happened in the past with UK foreign policy and terrorist attacks that we're seeing now?
Let me repeat, it's not an excuse, it's not a justification, but you know, I remember when the former head of MI5 herself said that the war in Iraq had led to greater radicalisation in the UK and had raised different issues about different threats and different issues in terms of keeping the country safe. So I think in any healthy democracy, and remember terrorists are trying to undermine our democracy, we've got to protect our ability in a healthy democracy to have these debates. I've been a long critic of the war in Iraq. I don't think it helped the situation in Iraq and it had implications at home. I've been a critic of the air campaign in Syria, not because I question the motivations of people wanting to find a solution in Syria, but I question the efficacy of a campaign from the air. We must be able to have those debates.
So you agree with Jeremy Corbyn then that it's made us less safe and it's made terrorist attacks more likely?
Well, I think there are issues about foreign policy and the implications the implications for radicalisation here, but where I would disagree with anybody, and I'm not here to advocate for Jeremy Corbyn, but where I think it is probably slightly unfair is to say that he was somehow saying that meant, I mean, I heard Theresa May saying that what Jeremy Corbyn was saying, that we only had ourselves to blame for what happened in Manchester. I don't think that's what he was saying. I don't think it is what any right-thinking person would say, but we must have the ability to have honest debates about foreign policy and security here, and that would include, you know, the reductions to police cover that we've seen not here in Scotland but in England. You know, if we want to keep the population safe, which we all do, then we must be able to debate the factors of that.
There have been reductions in police in Scotland as well, haven't there? The force apparently is facing a funding black hole of £188 million by 2021.
Our police face pressures, our police face funding pressures, as public services do, but my government came to office in 2007 under Alex Salmond at the time. We made a commitment to maintain police officer numbers at 1,000 above the level we inherited, and we have kept that pledge. You've seen a reduction of 20,000 officers in England. Officer numbers in Scotland have not declined. We've also invested in making sure that there are sufficient trained armed officers. So that's why, you know, this week our Chief Constable was able to provide the level of cover he thought appropriate without calling on assistance from the military. Now, none of that is to in any way try to politicise the events of this week. Nobody should try to do that. The fundamental point I'm making here is that if we are to tackle terrorism, keep the population safe, then in a healthy democracy, particularly in an election campaign, none of these issues can be off limits. I think it would suit the Tories for some of these issues to be off limits, but that wouldn't serve any of the people that we have an obligation to be honest with during this campaign.